Hello everyone, my name is Sumit. Welcome to my channel SumitTube. In this tutorial series, we will learn how to design beautiful apps using Matlab app design. We will start with the basics like how to drag and drop components, edit their properties and write callback functions. We will be designing all of our apps from scratch and explaining the process step by step, making it very easy to understand the design flow. First, we will learn about different components by creating some simple apps. Then we will design professional apps that include different components, private and public properties and functions. We will also cover some complex examples such as designing multi-window apps. After designing apps, we will learn how to make standalone desktop applications and share them with other users. They can install and run the app like any other app without needing to have Matlab installed on their computers. I'll create a YouTube playlist including all the Matlab app designer videos. I recommend watching the videos in order so you don't miss anything. The Matlab version I am using is 2023B, which is the latest version at the time of making this video. If you are using a different version, you may notice some differences, but the core functionality remains the same. So it does not matter which Matlab version you are using. Okay, so let's get started. Hi everyone, this is Shumit. Welcome to another video tutorial. In today's lesson, we are going to learn how to use knob in Matlab App Designer. Now there are two types of knobs. One is continuous knob and another one is discrete knob. Today we are going to discuss about this continuous knob. Now this is the default knob type. Matlab calls this simply knob. And as the name suggests, you can change the value continuously in a specified range. For example, here the value is continuously changed between 0 to 10. Today we are going to build this simple app where we have a knob, and to indicate the present value and previous value we have two numeric edit field, and also to indicate the change we have added a lamp. That means if we increase the knob, the lamp color would be green, and if we decrease the knob value, then this lamp color would be red. So first increase the value from 0 to 5. So the present value is 5, previous value was 0, and as I was increasing the value, the lamp color is green. Now let's decrease the value from 5 to 2. Okay, so present value is 2, previous value was 5, so we have decreased the value, that's why this lamp color is set to red. So let's see how we can build this simple app. Now previously I have made tutorials on how to use edit field and lamp. As we are going to use these two components in today's app design, I would recommend to watch these two videos first. I'm going to add the link in the description below. Okay, I have already opened a new app file. Now to get the knob, you have to go to all to the bottom in this instrumentation tab. Here you can see that two types of knobs are available. One is this knob, which is the continuous knob, and another one is this discrete knob. Now let's bring this continuous knob inside our app. As you can see, it comes with this default level knob. If you want to keep it, you can. Otherwise, just press the delete button. This level will be deleted. When you delete this level, it becomes much easier to resize this knob. Okay, now let's go through its property. As you can see, all of the properties are listed here. First, change the font size to 24 so you can see easily. Now the first property group is the knob property group. Here you can see the value property and the limits property. These are the most important properties. The first value property indicates the value. Right now the value is set to 0. If you want to change the value, let's say to 50, just write 50 and then press enter, and you can see value is updated to 50. The second property is the limits property. You can see two values separated by comma. The first one is the lower limit and the second one is the upper limit. Let's change the lower limit to 25 and let's change the upper limit to 75 and then press enter. You can see lower limit has been changed to 25 and upper limit to 75. Another way to change the limits, you can do it directly from here. Just double click on the lower limit and change the value, let's set to 0 and press enter. And similarly, to change the upper limit, double click on this and let's change the upper limit to 100 and then press enter. As you can see, limits has been updated. Okay, let's change this value property to 0. Another way to change the limit is click on this three dot As you can see, it says minimum value is set to 0 and maximum value is set to 100. Okay, let's change the maximum value to 0, sorry, 10, and then press enter. Now the limit is from 0 to 10 and value is set to 0. Okay, now we'll write some callback functions for this knob so we can interact with it and see the results. Let's talk about these callback functions in details. Now, what is a callback function? It is a special type of function which is associated with a specific app component. Every time user interacts with this component, this callback function will be called. For example, if a user changes this knob, this function will be executed. Now, the knob is a special component. That's because it has two different types of callbacks. One is called value change callback and another one is called value changing callback. First, discuss about this value changed callback function. Value change callbacks are executed when user is done changing. That means value has already been changed or updated. This will be executed when the user changes the knob selector to point to a different value. So it would perform the action after the app user completed turning the knob. Okay, now let's learn some basics first. First, we have our app, and every app has several components, and each component has its own list of properties. To access a specific property of a specific component, we have to use this app.component.property notation. Now, for the knob, first we have our app, and then we have our component knob, and the property we want to access is the value property. Right now, the value property is set to 2. Now we have learned the basics. Let's see 3 examples. We are going to see how to get the value, how to set the value, as well as the event argument of the callback function. Okay, now let's see the first example of getting value. So how do we get the value of the knob? Right now, the knob value is set to 2. To get the value, we have to write x is equal to app.knob.value. Here, x is the name of the variable which is going to store the value 2. Now we have our component knob and we are going to add a edit field. What are we going to do? We are going to get the value from knob and set the value in the edit field. Now there are two components. One is knob and another one is edit field. And we want this knob value 2 to appear in the edit field. Now to get the value of the knob, we have to use this app.knob.value. And to set the value of the edit field, we have to write app.editField.value. Now to get the value from knob and set the edit field, we have to assign the value to one another. Okay, so we want to see the knob value. For this, we need a numeric edit field. So let's bring a numeric edit field inside the app. Let's delete this associated label and let's make it bigger so you can see it easily. Place it in the middle. Okay, let's change the font size to 24 and place it in the middle. Okay, now we are going to write the callback function for this knob. So first select this knob and then go to this callbacks tab. As I mentioned earlier, two types of callbacks are available for knob. We are going to write the value changed callbacks. So select this drop down list and add value changed function. Now, as we can see, Matlab already gives us some line of code. First line is a comment, which means this is a value change function and associated with this knob component. It gives us this function called knob value changed with two arguments. First argument is the app and the second argument is the event. Matlab also gives us the first line of code where it gets the value from knob. Now let's set the value of the edit field. So let's type app then dot edit field. Matlab already gives us some suggestions. So just click on this edit field and set the value property VA, and when it gives the suggestion, you can just press the tab key on your keyboard and you get us this line. Okay, so let's run this function and let's see the output. Okay, so here is our knob and the edit field. So if we want to change the value to, let's say 4, let's change the value to 4. As you can see, this value is close to 4 but not exactly 4. Now to get the exactly 4, you have to click on this label. Just click on this 4 and you can get the exact value. Let's change the value to 9. So click on this label 9 and you can get the value 9. Now notice one thing, when I am changing this knob, the value is not updating in the edit field immediately. That's because it is value changed. When you release the mouse, that means when you completely change the value, only then this value is going to update. If we want to get the immediate effect, we have to write value changing callback. Okay, we have seen how to get the value. Now let's look at the second example. So how can we set the value of the knob? For example, right now the knob value is 2 and we want to set the value to 6. For this, we have to write app.knob.value is equal to 6 and we will see the value is set to 6. Now we have the knob component and edit field component, but this time we are going to get the value from edit field and set the value in the knob. Now this step is very important. This time user is going to interact with the edit field as we are going to get the value from edit field. So this time callback function would be associated with the edit field, not with the knob. So first we will get the value from edit field using this app.editField.value notation. And we are going to set the knob value using this app.knob.value. So we will get the edit field value and set it to the knob value. Okay, now we want to set the value of this knob. So user is going to give some value in this edit field and we want to see the value in the knob. As the user is going to interact with this edit field, we have to write the callback function for this edit field. So select this edit field first and then go to the callbacks. Now edit field has only one callback, which is value changed callback. So click on this drop down and add a value changed callback function for this edit field. As you can see here, the callback function name is edit value changed and there is a comment which indicates this value change function is associated with the edit field. Now it gives us the first line of our code where it gets the value from edit field. So let's just set the knob value equal to this edit field. So the type app.knob, Matlab already gives us suggestions. So just press the tab key and then we have to set the value property. Okay, now let's run this function. Okay, let's keep it in the middle. So let's just say we want to set the value to 5. So write 5 first and then press enter and as you can see the value is set to 5. Now let's change the value to, let's just say 9. One way is to see the result is press enter on your keyboard. Another way is to just click outside and you can see the value is updated to 9. Now what happens if we want to give some value which is outside of this range? For example, let's say give the value 13 which is greater than 10. What happens? Let's see. See Matlab is showing you a error that value must has to be inside the limit. Now you can change the edit field limit. For this, just select this one and then click on this numeric property. You can see there is a limit here. Right now it's set to -infinity to infinity. So that means you can give any value. Let's change the minimum value to 0 and maximum value to 10. So user cannot give value outside of this range. So press enter. Now let's run this function again. Okay, now if I want give this value 8, it would show the result. If I want to give value greater than 10, let's just say 25, it would say value must be between 0 to 10. If I press enter, nothing is going to happen. It is going take back to last valid value, which is 8. Similarly, if we give value less than 0, for example, let's say -5, it is still going to indicate this value is wrong. Now, if you press enter, nothing is going to happen and it takes back to the last valid value. Okay, so we have seen these two examples of how to get the value and how to set the value. Now let's look at the example number 3, where we are going to use the event argument of the callback function. Now consider this. Right now the value is set to 1 and we are going to change the value to 8. Now we are going to access this previous value and present value. Now previous value was 1 and present value is 8. So how do we get these two value? Of course, you can get the present value using this app.knob.value argument. But how do we get this previous value 1? For this, we have to use the event argument of the callback function. As you remember, every callback function has two arguments. First argument is the app, which we normally use, and the second argument is event. To get this previous value and present value, we have to use this second argument. To get the present value, we have to write event.value, and to get the previous value, we have to write event.previous value. Now let's take a closer look to the property name. For example, one property is event.previous value. Here previous value is the property name. Now previous value is actually two words. One is previous and the second word is value. Every word start with uppercase followed by all lowercase, and there will be no space between these two words. Now this type of naming convention is known as camel case, because as you can see in the picture, camel has this up down feature. Okay, so we want to see the present value as well as the previous value. So that means we need two numerical edit fields. So let's bring a numerical edit field and place it here. Let's change the font size to 24 and align the value in the middle. Now let's take a look at this component name. If I change this edit field to, let's say, present, what happens? Now press enter. As you can see, it attaches this label present to this edit field. So that means every time you change this label would be added. Now if you are happy with this name, that's fine. Otherwise, you can just double click on this and give the any name as you want. Okay. Now let's bring one more edit field. Now if I bring an edit field from here, it would come with this default size as well as the default font size. What if I want something that is exactly this size as well as the font size? For this, I can just select this and then right click and then find the duplicate. Another way is to press Ctrl+D on your keyboard. Now a duplicate has been made with the same size and same font size. Now the component name is present edit field underscore 2. Now we change this present to previous. Now press enter. As you can see, it says the previous edit field value. Okay, now we also need a lamp to see the change. For this, go back to the bottom in this instrumentation tab and you can see a lamp here. Let's bring this lamp here. Let's delete this associated label and make the lamp bigger so you can see easily. Okay, so now we will write the callback function. Okay, select this knob and go to this callbacks and add a value changed callback function. Okay, here we are going to write our callback function. Okay, time to write the callback function. First, we are going to get the present value. You can call this new value or current value. Now, to get this value, you can use either the app argument or event argument. Anyway, I'm going to use the event argument. For this, we have to write event.value. And let's save the value into a variable named new. And set the present edit field value to new. Okay, now we'll get the previous value or the old value. For this, you must have to use the event argument. We can get this value using this event.previous value, and let's set the value to a variable named old and also set the previous edit field value to old. Now we are going to find the change or difference. Now, if the new value is greater than old value, that means we are increasing the value. That means we are turning the knob clockwise. In that case, we are going to set the lamp color to green. Else, that means new value is less than old value. That means we are decreasing the value, which means we are turning the knob anti-clockwise. In that case, we will set the lamp color to red. Okay, so we have completed writing our callback function. Now this new value is going to set this present edit field value, and this old value is going to set this previous edit field value, and we are going to see the change in this lamp color. So let's run this function and let's see it in action. Okay, so right now the value is set to 0. Now, if I change this value to 5, in that case, present value would be 5 and the previous value was 0. As I have increased the value, that's why the lamp color is green. Now, what if I decrease the value? Let's say if I would decrease the value from 5 to 2. In that case, this present value 5 would be previous value and this 2 would be the present value. So let's click on this. As you can see, present value is 2, previous value was 5, and as I was decreasing the value, lamp color turns into red. So if I increase the value, that means turn the knob clockwise, the lamp color would be green. If I decrease the value, that means turn the knob anti-clockwise, in that case, the lamp would be 0. And also see, if I change this knob, the value does not or update immediately. It only updates if I release the mouse. Okay, we have already seen the value change callback where value does not change immediately. For example, if we change the value from 5 to 0, value is going to update only after the value has been changed. But what if we want something like that? For example, here we are going to change the value from 0 to 10 and we want the edit field continuously update. For this, we have to use this value changing callback. Value changing callbacks are executed while user is changing the knob selector. It repeatedly performs an action as the user is turning the knob. Instead of updating an edit field once when the user releases the mouse button, this knob updates the edit field as the knob is being turned. Now to get this effect, we have to use the event argument of the value changing callback. We have to use this event.value argument. Now, one thing I want to mention here, there is no previous value property available for this value changing callback. This property is only available for value changed callback. So keep this in mind. Okay, this time we are going to write the value changing callback function. So select this knob first and go to the callbacks and select the second option, which is the value changing function. Click on this drop down and add value changing function. Here you can see in the comment, it is a value changing function which is associated with the knob element, and also see the function name which is called knob value changing. Now there are two arguments, app and event, and as I mentioned earlier, to get the value changing effect, we have to use this second argument. Okay, now let's set the edit field value to this event dot value. So let's app dot edit field, select this and then set the value property. Now either you can select this and press enter or simply press the tab key on your keyboard. Okay, now let's run this. Now what we should see, the edit field value immediately updates as user is turning the knob. So let's turn the knob. As you can see, now value is continuously updating. If I go back to 5, it is close to 5. Let's decrease the value. Value is decreasing continuously. Same way right now, value is increasing continuously. That's all from today's video. Hope you have learned something new today. Let me know your thoughts about this tutorial series. Add your comments below this video. As usual, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching and I am going to catch you in the next video.